All right, so how can we defend against clickjacking? So there's been many different attempts at doing that. Many of them affect user experience. So one example is to have the good site pop a dialog box with information on the action it is about to make and ask for confirmation. So whenever the user clicks on a good site for some action, the good site could say, are you sure you want to do this? Just to make sure the user isn't thinking they're clicking somewhere else, maybe in an iframe that's less trusted. Any downsides with this defense that you see? Anybody wants to raise their hand or write on chat? Yeah, exactly. David is asking their high false positive rates. Yes, there's a lot of false positive rates. In fact, that means you are going to get a dialogue box for every action you make on a good site. That's super annoying, right? It's very burdensome for the user, indeed. So it degrades user experience. Okay, another thing that people tried is to do UI randomization. So the good site is going to try to randomize their website, the way it displays on the user, so that a framed, let's say if there's an inner frame that's malicious or the outer frame that's malicious, they don't quite know where to overlap the UI. Okay, because you can't really look at what's inside iframe, you just know from seeing how it displays for other users or for the attacker when he actually navigates that website. So the good site could try to actually randomize the UI. Any downsides you see with that? Anyone want to raise their hand or write on chat?
Well, we have a question from Matthew. Since this attack involves a malicious site, how does a good site defense do anything?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So basically, we are in a scenario where a bad site frames a good site. So there's a bad site outside and there's the good site inside. So it involves both the good site and the bad site. And the question is, what could the good site do to protect themselves against, this kind of potential UI overlapping and clickjacking or cursor jacking attacks? The other possibility is that there's a good site that embeds maybe a frame for weather, for something less trusted, and that site becomes malicious and they try to attack the outer frame. Okay, so we are in a scenario where we have a good frame and a bad frame. And the question is, what can the good frame do to protect themselves against the bad frame or the bad outer page? And so one possibility that people have considered is for the good site to randomize the way they display themselves to the users, because so that the attacker, the outer attacker, cannot overlap UI elements in the right place on the good page. So Andrew is asking whether the randomization would have enough entropy to be effective, and if the randomization would not, and Francisco is asking the randomization would not be very scalable. Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, depends on the site. It might be hard to really randomize things properly. Yeah, there might not be that many options for randomization. And in general, it will degrade user experience because will that site look good? If you randomize it a lot, then it's probably going to look strange. If you don't randomize it a lot, then maybe the attacker can actually guess, with some good chance of where to overlap things. So indeed, it's not that effective. Okay, it's difficult and unreliable.